After 5 weeks on the top of the charts, it looks like Ode to My Father will finally make way for a new film this weekend. Following a long line of Korean gangster films, Gangnam Blues, starring Lee Min-ho, opened this week in theaters. Our film critic Pierce Conran is here to tell us about the film and to fill us in on the history of the gangster genre in Korea. Welcome, Pierce. So what can you tell us about this entry into this Korean gangster genre of the films?
Well, Gangnam Blues, which is simply called Gangnam 1970 in Korean, it's the new film by director Yoo Ha. He's a well-known genre filmmaker who, of course, conquered the gangster genre in the past with 2006's A Dirty Carnival, which is well known as one of the best Korean gangster films out there. This new film, it's actually set in 1970, and it deals with two orphans who become best friends, and they're trying to kind of scrape a living in kind of a shanty towns south of the Han River, and then they become involved in these kind of gangster skirmishes, and they get separated. And 3 years later, they're both in different gangs. And this is at the period in the 1970s when gangs were kind of in collusion with the government. They were trying to buy up all this farmland in the area that is now known as Gangnam. And so there's a lot of kind of interesting political context, and of course, you know, it's a gangster film as well. And starring in the lead role is Lee Min-ho, who's an incredibly popular Korean drama star. He was the star of The Heirs and City Hunter, and this is his first lead role in a film, though he used to be star in films much before he was famous. And alongside him is Kim Rae-won of Sunflower.
Okay, well, quite an interesting premise. Well, do you think it'll do well in Korea, in your opinion?
Well, I think it's off to a good start. It opened on Wednesday, and so far it's attracted about 300,000 viewers, which is certainly promising.
Wow.
Beyond that, I think the presence of Lee Min-ho alone is enough to make sure that people will certainly be coming out in the first week or so. And looking at gangster films, they've been quite successful over the years in Korea. The last few years in particular, there have been some very popular ones. And I think if we throw in I mean, a gangster film is mostly aimed for people in their 20s, often men in their 20s, but with the kind of the 70s context here, and the whole soundtrack is 70s Korean music, which is really wonderful. And I think this kind of could appeal to a broader demographic. So we'll see how it does. The film is quite dark, and I'm not completely sure how people will take to it. It's very ambitious, but I think it'll certainly make its money back. And with a little luck, word of mouth could turn it into a hit.
Okay, well, have you seen the film? How do you feel about it?
I have, and I must say that I had very high expectations because Dirty Carnival is actually one of my favorite Korean films, and I do love Korean gangster films, and I'm just very, very pleased to say that the film did not disappoint at all. It has this really ambitious backdrop and a really interesting kind of political backdrop, and I think that kind of really adds weight to a fairly familiar tale of brotherhood in a gangster setting. Beyond that, it has this incredible period detail and really extraordinary photography. I think it's one of the most well-made Korean films, and that's really saying something because, as we all know, Korean cinema is just really at the top of its game, the technical department these days. And if you add in this kind of really evocative 70s feel and the soundtrack and all the kind of the gangster tropes that come with this kind of film, I think it's just a really fun movie. It's not without its faults, but I would definitely think it's top-drawer entertainment, and I hope that others will feel the same.
Well, what can you tell us more about the history of, I guess, Korean gangster film or their genres?
Well, it's certainly a big genre for Korean film. The public have always had this fascination with, I guess, what you would call jopok in Korean. And I mean, there are gangster films stretching back a long way, but particularly in the 1970s, they started to kind of come up. These kind of people like Im Kwon-taek were making these kind of low-budget gangster films. But really, in the 90s, when it kicked off, again, Im Kwon-taek made this trilogy called The General's Son, which are set in the Japanese colonial period. And those, the first two of those topped the box office in 1990 and 1991, and after that, you know, there was a bunch more. But 1997 was a big year because that was the year before kind of the modern era of the kind of the blockbuster Korean film, and there were three very big films. There was Beat, which launched the career of Jung Song, and then there was Number 3, which launched the careers of Chae Min-sik and Song Kang-ho, and there was also Greenfish, which was the first film by the famous director Lee Chang-dong. So, and then after that, what was really interesting is that the genre tropes became absorbed into other genres. So they were kind of blending them with comedy and particularly romance. So we had all these films like the Marrying the Mafia franchise, My Wife is a Gangster, My Boss, My Hero, all these kinds of films. Even if you look at 2001, half of the top 10 Korean films were gangster films, and most of those were kind of hybrids of comedy and romance.
Okay, well, you seem like you're quite a fan of this genre. Well, do you have any favorites you could share with us?
I certainly do. I've already mentioned A Dirty Carnival, and I think that would be my favorite. It's a very classical and straightforward film. It's kind of an up-and-down narrative of a young gangster who goes up, and of course he gets a little too big for his boots, and things start to go badly. But beyond that, it's just it's filled with kind of symbolism. It's just really well made. Yoo Ha is a really incredible technical director, but he's actually a poet. He was a poet before a filmmaker, and you can really see that kind of blend, particularly in this film. So that was really one that's kind of stayed with me over the years. Another very famous example is Kim Ji-yoon's A Bittersweet Life, starring Lee Byung-hun. And so that's kind of the tale of one gangster and then eventually his revenge against his gang when they turn his back on him. Looking at more independent fare, there are actually a number of low-budget gangster films. So the best of those is probably Yang Ik-jun's Breathless from 2009. A really gritty but very fascinating film. And then we have Rough Cut, another great film by Jang Hoon, which it stars So Ji-sub, and it kind of blends the world of film and the world of gangsters. So it's really fun. And then I mentioned already some popular gangster films of recent years, and those would be Nameless Gangster and New World. Both of them actually starred Choi Min-sik. Both really kind of fun gangster films. And then, of course, I'm happy to add Gangnam Blues to that list, which I do think will go down as one of the best Korean gangster films.
Wow, thanks for that whole list of films there. You know, my husband and I were both big fan of this genre, this gangster film genre, and I'm pretty sure maybe we'll check out the Gangnam Blues, I guess, this weekend. All right, thanks for coming in today, Pierce.